Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners Issues and Updates for May 14th, 2024. County Administrator Gary Schmidt, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Chair Smith. Commissioner Savas is out of the office at a regional transportation conference. All other commissioners are present today. For the first item, Chair, would you please convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County?
I will recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County.
This is your meeting as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County Board of Directors. Joining you online is Housing Resident Commissioner Ann Leenstra. Good morning, Commissioner Leenstra.
Good morning.
Thank you. All right, this is Housing Authority 2023 Audit Update. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, and Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director, will present. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. As you're aware, the recent financial audit that indicates significant deficiency in internal control over financial reporting, timeliness, and accuracy of reconciliations. This finding stems from challenges in performing timely reconciliations following the conversion and implementation of a new enterprise resource planning system. The Housing Authority concurs with the finding and understands the significance of this issue in ensuring the accuracy and efficiency of our financial processes. There are 7 corrective actions that I won't read in detail because I believe you see those in the packets, but I will give you the headlines. So the first is we want to say identification of the root cause of this. And so our analysis indicates that the delays in completing monthly reconciliations are primarily attributed to the challenges encountered during the implementation of the new Yardi ERP system. These challenges included mass data migration issues from the prior system to Yardi, insufficient training and familiarization with the new software, and unexpected system configuration challenges. There are 7 corrective action pieces that I can read to you real quickly, if that's okay.
Please,
Okay.
and have that in the record, Ryan.
Okay, so you would like me to read those?
Yes, please read those.
Okay, thank you. So corrective action plan, and I'll just do the highlights. A comprehensive support and training. We will prioritize providing comprehensive support and training to all staff involved in the reconciliation process to ensure they are proficient in using Yardi efficiently and effectively. Number 2, data migration review. We will continue to conduct a thorough review of the data migration process and changes made to identify and rectify any discrepancies or incomplete data sets that may have affected the reconciliation process. Number 3, system optimization and testing. We will commit to optimizing the performance of the new ERP system through rigorous testing and troubleshooting to identify and resolve any underlying technical issues or bugs. Number 4, enhanced communication and collaboration. We'll have regular meetings and status updates with the instituted to ensure transparency and accountability throughout the software implementation process. Number 5, monthly reconciliations. Recognizing that the inherent risk associated with the timing, the data has been migrated and data integrity assured, we have already begun to reconcile monthly and will continue to monitor this process closely in order to mitigate the impact of any unforeseen challenges or disruptions on the reconciliation process. Number 6, hiring a finance supervisor. March 18th, 2024, the authority hired a new finance supervisor with many years of experience as a comptroller. And number 7, timeline for implementation. All these issues will be addressed and aim to implement the corrective action plan immediately.
Thank you. The hiring of a finance supervisor, what is that person going to do?
This person's going to be focused primarily on the Yardi system and that migration. So you'll have someone there every day operationally looking at the numbers, making sure that the reports are being uploaded and that people are staying on top of that task.
And this is tracking all the fund sources that come in from all the, we have a lot. It's
Yes.
like this out there for
Yes,
that.
federal, state, and
Federal,
local.
state, regional, you bet. Okay. Commissioner West?
Good morning. Couple questions. I know that there are different gradations or a hierarchy of deficiencies when they're discovered. I've talked about this in the past, but it says here, aside from the clean opinion, the audit report included one significant deficiency of internal controls over timeliness, accuracy, and reconciliation. That paragraph under that talks about how we missed a deadline that's required by statute. Can you explain to me or help me understand a little bit about where the significant deficiency fits within the hierarchy of all those other audit findings that can come out? And then also, is it common to miss? Why did we miss it? Like, is it a big deal that we were outside of statute with the timeliness factor here? And then, and is all of this related to a change in software? And I guess those are my questions.
So I'm Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director with Clackamas County, and I'm here because our Housing Authority of Clackamas County is a major fund within Clackamas and is represented in our Clackamas County audit. So that's my role here. And also, I want to share that because they're a major fund in our audit, Clackamas County will also receive a significant deficiency finding as well, and so we'll come back to you with the same information next week with H3S. And then to answer your question, Commissioner West, the significant deficiency is pretty significant. So there are recommendations, there are other learning opportunities, but because this is significant and it's right up there with, well, I don't know, it's pretty significant, let me say that. I can't define that at the moment. But we do need to report this to the state with the corrective action, and that's what Rod was referring to. We have a corrective action plan, and we'll be submitting that to the Secretary of State within 30 days of the closing of the audit. There are different tiers, and I will provide that. I apologize, I don't have that readily available. But this is something that's worthy of reporting to the state how we're going to correct it. And so the county will also have the same corrective action.
Ms. Comfort, on the missing our deadline,
Yes, so we missed our deadline, but the reasons we missed our deadline is because the records were not in order or complete, and we were short these reconciliations. So the information and the no opinion is good. If they had an opinion, that would mean that there is something that they could find fault with in the documentation and in the records, but the records are good. It just took quite a bit of time to pull them together accurately, and the timing was off. And because the timing was off, that threw the process of the audit well behind. So we did have permission to extend the timing with the state. So we asked for an extension initially after December 31st to February, and then to March 31st, and that's when it was submitted, was March 30th. So a combination of timing and not having the records complete.
is that a common practice to ask for extensions and to have to extend that timeline and not meet that statute date?
It is. In fact, the Clackamas County, we've also asked for an extension. Our audit will be completed tomorrow, the 15th.
Okay.
And so it does happen. We're a large organization. There's a lot of components. And we, Clackamas counties, had to wait to complete ours because we were waiting for our major fund from HAC to be incorporated into that. But there are a number of scenarios. Several years ago, or a couple of years ago, we had our own updated chart of accounts, which caused a lot of cleanup work. And so we were far behind then, and we closed our audit April 12th, and that was due to a lot of good work that was done, but it was all approved by, the extensions were approved by the state.
Are you confident that the plan, the action plan with the 7 different interventions is going to be effective and we won't see another significant finding related to this?
I do. I am confident, and the staff, I've met one of the new hires, Jonathan. He's a former auditor himself, and he's brought a lot of expertise. However, his timing of hire was late in the process, so we still had a lot of work to do. But yeah, I'm very confident in the HAC staff and the good work that they're doing there. And the move to Yardi, the new software, was a good move to do. It just takes a lot of effort and a lot of time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scholl.
You know, the Housing Authority has got so many moving parts. There's so much going on. There's so many other subordinate organizations you work with, nonprofits, contractors. Must be difficult to keep up with all that. Is there any issues regarding, or challenges regarding reporting of information from those organizations that the Housing Authority works with? Or is that in part an underlying problem here?
No, not in this case. You know, this was just I'm trying not to give excuses, but I'll give you reasons. And we basically had a large software changeover is what we've been talking about. And at the same time, we had a large staff turnover. And so you had new staff coming in trying to engage into the new Yardi system. So all this came together at the same time. And so I think people are doing the best they could under the circumstances, but this wasn't caused by nonprofits
Okay.
or associations
Yeah, okay.
with other partners.
Good, okay, thank you.
When was Yardi first implemented?
I'm going to say about a year ago.
I assume Yardi was implemented when the deficiencies were discovered? Yardi was implemented because?
It's the new system, and the older system was not able to keep up with all the new complexities of how our funding, and you know, we do we're building things and those type of things as well. So this switch was a decision a year ago, and when we switched, but then the people we bought it from, we didn't get enough training from them
Yeah.
in time. So again, I don't want to give you a lot of excuses because we have to
Oh, I know,
be
stuff happens.
successful in these things, but, you know, that was part of it, yes.
I'm glad I'm not having to learn the software, let's put it that way. Now that we have discovered the 7 deficiencies, how long do you think it will take to get those right-sided?
Well, I believe what Rod has shared is how they're going to eliminate any future deficiencies. So we had one internal control deficiency, and that was due to the timing and the delays due to the work not being done timely. And now with his plan for 7 action items that are going to correct that, I think over the next several months and definitely before the next audit, they will be in place.
So from the discovery of these 7 items, and with our new software and our new finance person, going forward, we can categorize, we can put the right square pegs in the square holes, so to speak, down the line.
Yes, and we'll have eyes on it every day.
Okay. Great, wonderful. Any further questions for commissioners on this? Gary, what's our action on this today?
Today is just to inform you, next week you will have a consent agenda item where you are acknowledging the deficiency and accepting staff's recommendation on how to fix it. That'll be next week.
All righty, thank you very much for coming forward.
Thank you.
So Elizabeth, you'll stay for a second. So Chair, would you now reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
Yeah, does Ann Leenstra need to leave?
Yes, Commissioner Leenstra, thank you for being here.
I will recess as a Housing Authority of Clackamas County and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
So just very quickly, that you were meeting as a housing authority for that, now you're meeting as the county board. Do you have any other questions for Elizabeth? Because this will also be a finding on the county's record. You'll have a consent agenda for the county. You'll have 2 consent agendas next week, one for housing authority, one for the county.
Commissioner West.
Ms. Comfort, is it factual to say, or am I understanding correctly, that it's the exact same finding, the exact same 7 action plan? It's just impacts the county umbrella along with the housing authority umbrella. Is that right?
That is
There's no
correct.
really, this mirrors each other.
Correct, it's the same. In fact, we're using their language to help craft our staff report and corrective action to the state, because they're a major fund within the Clackamas County audit that we have to mirror what they're doing and follow up. So Rod and his team and I are, we're working together on this.
And Gary, so both of these come to us this week or next week?
Next week.
Next week, okay. Thank you.
On Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All righty, what's next?
Very good, thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District?
I will recess as the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners and convene as the North Clackamas County Parks and Recreation District.
This is request for consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board of Directors. Item 1, approval of an amendment to a grant agreement with Clackamas County for ongoing delivery of Older Americans Act-funded senior services. The amendment value is $23,530. Total grant value is increased to $453,988 for 1 year. Funding is through federal and state grant funds. No county general funds are involved. So Kia Selly is the director of the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, and we'll give a quick any additions to this item, please.
Thank you, Gary. Good morning, Chair Smith and directors. Last October, the board approved a grant agreement with H3S of Clackamas County to support older adult services at the Milwaukee Community Center. These services include congregate and home delivery meals, transportation, health and wellness programming, and referrals, all of which help older adults remain independent and active. H3S allocates these funds to 9 other similar facilities in Clackamas County. However, the Milwaukee Community Center delivers the largest number of units, serving approximately 1,500 older adults each year. This additional funding is being provided based on simply a higher demand than forecasted for transportation and home delivery meal service. Thank you.
Great. Any questions or comments on this? Commissioner Scholl?
Kia, this $453,988, that's just for what it costs to conduct this program at the Milwaukee Community Center?
It's based actually on units delivered. So it's a federal requirement that we calculate this based on, and it's for that suite of services for the congregate home delivery meals, transportation referrals, and the health and wellness program.
And, but it was pushed out from the Milwaukee Center?
Correct.
Okay. And then this ends next month, on the end of the month?
Correct. This is through June 30th,
Yeah,
this current
okay.
fiscal year.
And question, what's your funding looking like for 1 July? For the
So,
same program?
so I believe it's a similar amount. I would have to confirm that for you, Director Scholl, but
Yeah,
I can get back to you with that
All right, thank you.
information.
Any further, Commissioner West?
Does this include, it says evidence-based health promotion, does this include any healthcare visits or home healthcare, nursing visits to individuals that need it? Is there any, what is the evidence-based health promotion?
So it's supportive services, connecting older adults with services. I don't believe that it includes any actual nurse visits or anything like that. But I can provide you with that additional information, Director West, so that you can understand kind of the full complement of services provided by that health and wellness program.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions or objections, thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you please convene as the Extension and 4-H Service District?
I will recess as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and convene as the Extension and 4-H Service District.
This is request for consent agenda for the Extension and 4-H Service District of Clackamas County. Item 1, approval of a lease amendment number 2 for the use of county buildings with Clackamas County. The amendment value is $104,669.92 for 3 years. Total lease value is increased to $234,265.12 for 7 years. Funding is through budgeted Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District property tax revenue. No county general funds are involved. Jeff Jorgensen is the county's Facility Division Director, and he will present, please.
Morning. Chair Smith, Commissioners. So we're requesting this lease amendment number 2 for 3 years. for the Extension Service to go ahead and figure out what's going on. We've, this original lease started in 2020, and we're on lease amendment 2 at this point. When the service district was created, we started leasing and charging the OSU district for the building and the services provided.
The rents that are collected from this building that we own, where do they go?
I would have to defer that to finance.
Are you able to answer now, Elizabeth, or you can send us an email? Yeah, an email is perfectly fine. I'm just curious.
We do quarterly allocation billing, so for the utilities and any work that we do in the buildings, testings, systems, we do that quarterly throughout the year.
Thank you for that. Seeing no objections or questions, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, Chair, would you reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will recess as the Extension and 4-H Service and reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners.
You'll meet as the Board of County Commissioners for the rest of these items. Next is request for consent agenda for the Board of County Commissioners. First, elected officials, the Sheriff's Office, item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Corrections for supplemental Measure 57 funding for community corrections programs. The agreement value is $712,500 for 2 years. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Corrections. No county general funds are involved. Captain Malcolm McDonald from the Sheriff's Office. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. This $712,500 goes specifically to our CSAP program. It supports 4 FTE material and services and some of our contract services for therapists.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you, Malcolm.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Still with elected officials, this is the District Attorney's Office, item 2, approval of a grant agreement from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission for Oregon Behavioral Health Deflection Program. Grant value is $475,254.50 for 15 months. Funding through Oregon House Bill 4002. No county general funds are involved. Bill Stewart from the District Attorney's Office. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners.
Yes.
This is the second step. We were before you several weeks ago to get your permission to file for this grant. We've received the grant. With your permission, we'll then sign the contract and move forward.
Bill, how much was that? 475,000?
Correct. I think that's exactly right.
Yeah, it says here in the document. Good, and that's going to get us started on the deflection program,
It should.
and you're hopeful?
Very much so, Your Honor.
Why?
We're pulling together
Now's your time to brag about the program.
We're pulling together a real good team. I mean, we've got Malcolm and his team from Community Corrections, the Sheriff's Office. We're working with other law enforcement agencies. The goal here is to open up the services, in many cases we already do, like through H3S and the burn folks, to connect them to these folks that we're trying to reach through the deflection program. So these are very challenged folks, homelessness, drug addiction, and we're going to try to pull that together to have more success than we had under the former structure of Measure 110.
Yeehaw. Commissioner West.
I have full confidence, Bill, in you and Malcolm and the team. I represent the board on LIPSIC as we try to figure out what deflection is and how it will work. It's a challenge. Is this the first 50% of the funds? Is that, am I correct in how this is happening?
Yes.
Okay. And then when do you think, are we projecting to see the last half?
We will have to file a separate grant request in May.
Okay.
And that would come in June.
Is that another 500-word summary
Another
type of thing?
475, yeah.
Okay.
Our total opportunity is, I think, 950-some thousand
Okay.
dollars.
I mean, we're trying to figure out how to do something. The deflection piece is quite perplexing on how it's not Measure 110 light with maybe a little bit of a misdemeanor on the tail end after a lot of off-ramps. And I get that jail is not the goal for any of these people. I'm concerned that this actually ends up being an unfunded mandate from the legislature, to be honest with you, as we go get this money. And, at the end of the day, we have to fix the problems at a local level. Like, it's nice that the legislature gets to spend these things up, but then here we are dealing with it here at the county level. So I'm going to be cautiously optimistic with you, and I love your optimism because we got to tackle this problem with whatever we got. I do have a lot of concerns about what deflection means and how it rolls out, but I am heartened that we do have good people like you and Malcolm helping lead the county through that. So I know that there's a lot of work to still be done with LIPSIC and the rest of the team to figure this out. But yeah, thank you for presenting today.
Yes, thank you for bringing that, Commissioner West. I guess you're the watchdog on this for us.
Yeah.
Go for it. Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Stewart. With this modification to Measure 110 and its impact on your office, the sheriff's office, are you comfortable with a full spectrum approach, cooperation with H3S and our housing and their capabilities to incorporate what might be needed by the deflection program? In other words, are we all working together on this?
Very much so. And I base that on my experience as a community prosecutor working with H3S and the partners they fund, the Burn folks that are already kind of at the table, and then the nonprofits, folks like Love One and Farm. We intend to utilize those partnerships out in the community, particularly in the rural areas, so that this is not just trying to solve a problem here in Oregon City. We want to work throughout the county. And the only way we're going to do that is build those partnerships even past what we have right now. So I'm fully confident they'll be very helpful.
Okay, good, thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, hey, Bill, how does this differ at all when, I remember first being here, being on lip sync, so glad to pass that baton. But, we did drug courts, which to me were a diversion deflection program. Is this fundamentally different than what we had been doing? Or is it really just a recognition of a best practice? Or
It's different than drug court. Traditionally, drug court is not to get technical,
Yeah,
but a
that's okay.
post-plea
Okay.
resolution. This is going to be more like LEAD was when we first ramped it up in 2019, which was meant to be a pre-charge diversion. But quite frankly, it's our vision to go beyond that because it can't just be that first kind of bite. We need to be able to pull in things like our community court program to really go after these folks who are having these chronic problems. And we think this is an additional tool that we haven't had because of Measure 110, to try to keep pushing these folks into getting help and getting off the
Getting the
street.
help they
That's what
need
we have
to-
to do.
Yeah.
Just leaving them out there is continued overdoses, continued public safety problems, and we're hoping to utilize these new opportunities to engage further.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you. West.
One last question. As we start to get a better handle on the population that we're going to be helping, I know we have some estimates about the number of people that are going to potentially be deflected. I don't trust the accuracy of those numbers. I think we're doing the best we can with old data. I think it's a little higher than what we're projecting anyways. Is there within the legislature and within the work that we did with this, conversation about another bite at the apple for additional funding as we start to kind of set this? I see Malcolm nodding, but like as we start to ramp this up and get it going, this is not enough as we try to tackle this crisis.
Malcolm and I were both at a symposium this past week, and they brought in two of the legislators who were behind this. That's exactly what they said, that there will be more opportunity to review what we've accomplished, and there may be more resources available in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. See no objections.
Thank you. Next, Juvenile Department. Item 1, approval to apply for the congressionally directed spending award to fund Clackamas School-Based Behavioral Health and Substance Abuse Juvenile Justice Prevention Program. Grant value is $500,000 for 4 years. Funding is through the Federal Burn Discretionary Grant Program. No county general funds are involved. Christina McMahon, Director of Juvenile Department. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Chair Smith. Good morning, Commissioners. I am here to do, it almost feels a little backwards. Normally, we're here asking you if we can get permission to apply for a grant in hopes of getting money. In this situation, we've been notified that we are receiving money. It's been appropriated by Congress, and now we have to fill out the grant application to go through the paperwork to get the money. So this is, as you might recall, in February of 2023, this board approved a list of projects through our Public and Government Affairs Department to go ahead and apply for. And this, we were very fortunate that this one was approved. You were just talking about the deflection program on the adult side. This is a program that we started with Gladstone School District. We're at the end of our second school year, to try to get ahead of what we were seeing out in the community with Measure 110 and our ability to formally intervene with young people and families who were struggling. So we didn't have money to keep it going, so we were very happy that this earmark came through for us, and I'm asking your permission today to be able to go ahead and submit the necessary paperwork so that we can receive the funding through the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, the federal office, so that we can use that to continue to do the work that we're doing in Gladstone School District, and hopefully be able to, we have to check our finances on this, but hopefully be able to see if we can expand it to another school district. So we originally applied for $1 million, and they asked us to also submit a scaled-down version if we only received $500,000. I'm not saying only, I'm very grateful for any amount of funding that we're able to receive. So now we have to look at how we're going to manage that allocation. So my request is that you approve this.
Thank you. Why is Gladstone School District targeted on this? Because there are many school districts that have this need.
Yeah.
I've asked this question before, I think.
Yes, actually, it was, as you might recall, it was about 2.5 years ago that we were doing work with Reclaiming Futures. We had a technical assistance arrangement with them. We held meetings with all the school districts in the county and asked who would be interested in participating in this. And at the time, the school districts were in the throes of all of their COVID response planning, they had just that school year reconvened in person, most of them. And unfortunately, even though many districts were interested, they didn't have the capacity to work on implementing a new program. Gladstone was the only district at the time that was able to raise their hand and say, yes, we want to do this with you. And we were able to expand it to the middle school this year, and that is really having great results, really getting even more upstream and being able to help young people. So the reason is the timing of it in conjunction with our COVID emergency that we were experiencing as a community.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Commissioner Scholl?
Yeah, my question was similar to Chair Smith's question. That is the program being specific to Gladstone School District. Now, does Clackamas School District then provide the personnel to administer this program, or do you get help from our H3S personnel?
It's actually a combination of partners coming together. So this funding is used to support the contracted provider that is in the schools and working directly with the Gladstone School personnel, so the counseling staff, the administration, et cetera. And also our community, our health centers have behavioral health folks who come in and really offer extra support for kids that are struggling and families that need that extra support to kind of move them up in the priority list to get services after they've been identified through this program. So it's really the juvenile department, Clackamas Health Centers, and the Gladstone School District, people that are all involved in it.
Okay. So are other school districts, do they have any kind of similar program or similar funding to help their students who have a mental health or addiction problem?
I can't speak for all the different services across our many school districts, but I know that every school has some sort of support. How that plays out is individual to those school districts. This is unique because we are doing a screening, brief intervention, referral to treatment screening tool with all these different kids in the school to identify different issues that they and their families are dealing with. So this is kind of a unique constellation of how we're approaching the problems. It was really designed primarily because of the substance use and the increase in the need for mental health services with young people in the community. So I wish I could give you an inventory of what's going on, Commissioner Scholl, but I don't. I know for a fact in the juvenile justice realm, there is not funding for this in the state of Oregon. We are using this information, this data, to hopefully eventually be able to convince the legislature that this is the type of program that is a good investment because we're getting upstream before young lives are ruined, and it costs many systems a lot more money.
I see. Okay.
That's part of our goal.
All right, good. Thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
So has the ESD been involved in this at all, Education Service District? And then what I am hearing from you, if this is successful with Gladstone, there is potentially for all the stakeholders to expand the program countywide with school districts and the ESD. Is that in the works? Is that?
I don't think there's the potential to expand this with this level of funding to every school district in the county, so not really countywide. But to answer your first question about the ESD, yes, the ESD has been at the table when we held our meetings and information sessions. And then our ESD superintendent wrote a wonderful letter of support. When we had to put together our application, we had to include letters of support for the congressionally directed spending. So yes, they have been part of this. But to answer your question, we have to figure out, we can do a little bit potentially of an expansion, but it won't be every school district in the county. It might be one more school district.
Okay, well, I'm talking about future.
Yes.
So you're going to start doing a district. I guess what I'm saying is, are you thinking big where, assuming the metrics meet
Yes.
everyone's approval and it does prove to be extremely successful, will there be a move for a larger expansion and asking more money? And that's a future question, I guess, is what I was saying.
Yes, I believe there will be, and I've brought this, I'm the current president of the Oregon Juvenile Department Directors Association, and I have brought this to our association, and we have described what's going on in Clackamas when there have been meetings between the association and legislators. We're trying to plant the seed for the future.
And also the federal, where would the federal dollars come from, Department of Justice?
Oregon, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention is the federal agency.
That's under the, where is that under the Department of, then it's under the Department of Justice?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner West.
I first learned about this program when I sat down with you and learned about your department when I was first elected. And so this is a great program that has been existing on a shoestring budget, but been very effective in the preventative space with mental health issues, preventing youth from ending up into the justice system. This has really been a really great use of funding at a local level right on the ground. So this is innovative, really cool stuff. I hope that one day we can just absolutely replicate this everywhere. Really good stuff. I'm just curious, did you have any great champions in Congress to help you get this funding?
Yes, Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer is the person who included it in her proposal. I don't know how all of that process works, but I know that she hung in there and really fought for us to get it.
And I ask that because it doesn't surprise me, because this just sounds like something that she has been really advocating for over the last couple of years in her district. And so this is something I know that she has been trying to get done. And so everybody from all levels, from the Congresswoman's office all the way from the work that you're doing, our government affairs, Gary, your team, this is really good stuff. It's going to save lives. It's going to impact people's lives. It's going to strengthen our community. And this is how we prevent people from needing more expensive and more intensive services down the road. So this is great stuff. So thank you for presenting today.
You're welcome. And I just wanted to say, I realized when you were speaking, Commissioner West, Commissioner Schul, I left out somebody very important when I was talking about the partners that have come together. Mary Rumba, as you know, our behavioral health director, has always been a major support, and her crisis and support team has also stepped in to provide extra hands on deck when the young people have been screened and have been identified, for example, of being high risk for suicide, and we need to get them support. So that's another way that's one of our agencies in Clackamas County is contributing to this. So I just wanted to correct what I said. I didn't mean to leave out that very important team that's also part of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Christina, for this presentation. Seeing no objections, and good luck with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, County Administration. Item 1, approval of a fiscal year 2024-2025 work and financial plan with the United States Department of Agriculture for wildlife management services. The agreement value is $88,733 for 1 year. Funding is through budgeted county general funds. Everett Wild, Policy Advisor for the Office of the Administrator, will present. Go ahead, please.
Raccoons and coyotes and bears, oh my. Chair Smith and Commissioners, good morning. Everett Wild, Policy Advisor for the Board and County Administration. In June of last year, you entered into a 5-year agreement with the U.S. Department of U.S. Department of Agriculture for wildlife management. They do education and, when needed, trapping or lethal removal of animals that have become a problem, particularly in the rural areas. This agreement is $88,733. It's a not-to-exceed amount, so they will be billing the county for actual services performed, so it may not reach this amount, but it's a not-to-exceed amount through budgeted county general funds for that education and management component.
Thank you. Commissioner Schrader.
Does this include just unincorporated areas or the cities as well?
I believe they would provide service across the county, but they're primarily targeting the rural areas. This is for predators and animals that have really become a big nuisance on both public and private land.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm asking, because there isn't a day that goes by in Lake Oswego where there isn't a coyote sighting. And, I was used to them in the rural area, and it's interesting to me because we've all heard them on our farms, and we know how to keep our livestock safe, but it's been fascinating to me now. I'm in a more urban environment, and they're urbanizing very quickly and becoming a real hazard for people's pets. So just wondering that maybe that has to be a municipal function as well, because I don't see our county trapper going into Lake O to trap any coyotes anytime soon, I guess is what I'm saying, but, yeah. So,
Thank you. Any objections to this moving forward?
Nope.
Seeing none.
Next, Finance. Item 1, approval of a lease amendment with Willamette Building Partnership for the Willamette Building. Amendment value is $146,290.44 for 18 months. Total lease value is increased to $588,514.08 for 6 years and 6 months. Funding is through federal, state, local grants, fee-for-service revenue, and allocated costs, which does include a small portion of budgeted county general funds. Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. Jeff Jorgensen, Facilities Division Director. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Elizabeth Comfort, Finance Director. So we've been in this building, I believe, since 2004, and this particular lease that we're asking for an amendment started in 2019. We're asking for an 18-month extension or renewal on this because the services that are being provided are moving to our Holman building, which the county owns. So we will be giving up a lease and be moving out to the end of December 2025. So this amendment, at your request, is to extend, to give us that time needed.
The Holman Building is in downtown Oregon City on Main Street. Where
Correct.
the current district attorney resides.
The law library and the Oregon Judicial District has it with the jury assembly, has that building.
Okay,
The DA is in the Multnomah building.
I got those mixed up, thank you. And this space is available because of the construction of the new courthouse.
Correct.
We own this building. Very good. Thank you for thinking ahead on this. Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a lease amendment for the use of county buildings with the Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District. The amendment value is $104,669.92 for 3 years. Total lease value is increased to $234,265.12 for 7 years. Funding is through budgeted Clackamas County Extension and 4-H Service District property tax revenue. No county general funds are involved.
Thank you. This staff report and request is coming to you from the owner of the property. The Extension District has actually leased this space since 1996, but we've not charged, as a county, not charged them lease until they became a taxing district about 2015. So this continues that relationship of charging rent.
And we heard this earlier today.
Correct.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 3, approval of a lease amendment with RC Enterprises for the Oak Lodge Library. Amendment value is $111,943.60 for 14 months. Total lease value is increased to $1,971,679.96 for 25 years and 2 months. Funding is through budgeted Clackamas County Library Service District property tax revenue. No county general funds are involved.
Correct, thank you. We've been, as you said, Gary said, we've been leasing this since 1994, and in 14 months, we anticipate moving into our new library location. So this amendment for 14 months will get us that time needed. And Jeff and his team are working with the owners for that move-out transition.
Yeah, we went and done some tours in the building. We will go ahead and actually, we've been working with the library district, so when they move into the new library space, we still have to go ahead and get all the stuff, the old shelves and everything out of that space. So it's basically just the 14 months. So it's through August 31st of next year.
Questions or comments from the board? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 4, approval of a parking lot lease agreement with Eddington Properties for 9 parking spaces at the 713 Main Street parking lot in Oregon City. Total lease value is $14,625 for 1 year. Funding is through allocated costs, which does include a small portion of budgeted county general funds.
The district attorney and the state court staff use these 9 spaces. They initially had spaces below, and in 2012, we constructed a sally port off the courthouse, which took up these spaces. So we've had this lease since then, and this period of time, and this amendment gets us to our new replacement courthouse location.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Thank you. Next, Transportation and Development. Item 1, approval of a grant agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the purposes of planning and community involvement associated with Transportation Safety Action Plan. Total value is $413,905 for 2 years and 5 months. Funding through the Federal Highway Administration and $83,905 in county road fund match. No county general funds are involved. Dan Johnson, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead, please.
Chair Smith, Commissioners, thanks for the time today. Essentially, we were back here in July asking to apply for this grant. This grant is to basically update and incorporate some revisions into our Transportation Safety Action Plan. That's a lot of words. We have actually reframed that under our Drive to Zero Action Plan, which is very familiar to you. It's an objective that we have to develop a safer driving community throughout this area of Clackamas County. That Transportation Safety Action Plan is a vital part of the work that we do as a part of our overall TSP when we update it. So this work is vital to making sure we're consistent with the standards to update that TSP, which is also underway and will be coming before the board here in the next months to come. Essentially, we're looking for this grant. The grant's $330,000 from basically the Highway Administration to complete this work. It aligns with our TSP, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of a maintenance assistance grant intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon State Marine Board for operation and maintenance funding for 5 county recreational boating access sites. Total value is $71,135 for 2 years, funding through Oregon State Marine Board. No county general funds are involved.
The amount doesn't sound like a lot, but we go after every dollar we can go after for maintenance. And essentially, our Parks Department is in charge of a number of boating areas. And essentially, these are funds through the state that the Oregon State Marine Board, through their boating facility grant program, providing supporting operational dollars to our parks to do some needed improvements. Basically, I should highlight the fact that county parks matching funds come essentially from boating and ramp user fees. There's no general fund associated with this whatsoever. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 3, approval of a public improvement contract with Eagle Elsner for the South Ivy Street pedestrian intersection improvements project. Total value is $3,658,000 over 2 years and 8 months. Funding through state-funded local project program, City of Canby, and County Road Fund. No county general funds are involved.
We're finally to the point we can build something. I want to highlight the first page of this. You'll see how long this discussion has been going on, and it's been a very, very good discussion with the city. I want to highlight that, but essentially, we are here to basically, we've obtained state funding through local project funds through an intergovernmental agreement and the Oregon Department of Transportation to provide bicycle lanes and sidewalk improvements on Ivy Street. The existing street lacks these facilities and are needed to connect local residents throughout the community. In addition to these improvements, there will be a signal at the intersection of South Ivy Street and Township Road that will be included. We are also doing needed ADA improvements around that area as well. Funding basically is through the local project program, about $1.7 million. It's the city of Canby is adding an additional $1.5 million. Our participation through the county road fund is about $400,000. The project is expected to essentially be completed by October 31st, happy Halloween, of 2025. And also, I should inform the board, once this project is complete, the county will be transferring that road to the city of Canby, and we will have no additional maintenance responsibility for that road. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions or comments? Seeing none.
No, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Health, Housing, Human Services. Item 1, approval of an amendment increasing funding and duration of a revenue intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Human Services for Medicare outreach services for older adults. Amendment value is $19,500 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $100,500 for 5 years. Funding is through the Federal Administration of Community Living. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead, please.
Good morning again. The Senior Health Insurance Benefits Program is designed to educate seniors and other Medicare recipients about their rights, resources, and needs related to Medicare and additional health insurance. During last fiscal year, 977 individuals were assisted during 1,093 counseling sessions.
Commissioner West.
So I know that for a senior to often be eligible for Medicaid, they have to spend down a lot of assets, or there's a lot of like technicalities around that. If somebody's in that situation where they may need Medicaid as a health insurance option for them, but let's say they own their own home free and clear, or something like some asset that prevents them from getting that, is this a resource? Is that the type of resource for these individuals to help them figure out how to be eligible and how to navigate that?
Yes, I'd say all of the above, yes.
Okay. Can you send me, if I wanted to refer contacts to this program, can you send me that by email or have your staff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scholl.
Yes, Mr. Cook, this money will be utilized by personnel in H3S to conduct this service?
Yes.
Okay.
Seeing no objections, thank you.
Item 2, approval of an amendment to a grant agreement with the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District for ongoing delivery of Older Americans Act funded senior services. The amendment value is $23,530. Total grant value is increased to $453,988 for 1 year. Funding is through federal and state grant funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, you heard this earlier from North Clackamas Parks and Rec Director, but I'll read this part again. The agreement includes services such as congregate and home-delivered meals, health promotion activities, transportation, and information and referral activities, helping them to meet their individual needs and remain independent and active in their community.
Thank you. We heard this before, Commissioners. Any objection, Commissioner Scholl?
One comment. We heard earlier that this program is providing meals to 1,500 senior citizens in the Milwaukee area especially. And I just want to comment that is, although the number seems big, 450,000 plus, the cost per person is quite reasonable, like $300 a year. So you're doing a lot of good work with this program to help a lot of people at a relatively reasonable price.
Yes, and my notes say that the Pioneer Community Center served 65,000 meals each year, primarily to homebound older adults.
Yeah,
so they're doing a lot of great work out of that community center.
But 65,000 meals, but predominantly to 1,500 people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is Meals on Wheels program still active, and is this part of that?
I don't,
It's a state-funded program. Did that go away?
I believe so, but I'd have to actually check if that's the
That's really
actual
too
service. Yeah.
That this Meals on Wheels, if it's gone? Because that provided, I think, what this is too, but it's state funding. Okay, just
Yeah, I know that was the main source of that, the.
Maybe the
food
name has
delivery.
changed, and I haven't kept up. I don't know. Okay, thank you, Rod. See no objections.
Item 3, approval of an amendment increasing funding of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Portland to access and use the Homeless Management Information System. Amendment value is $40,000 for 1 year. Total agreement value increased to $190,000 for 5 years. Funding is through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the Homeless Management Information System, and I'll refer to it later as HMIS, is a software application required and paid for by HUD, or Housing Authority, designed to track the services provided to families who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. Moving to a new regional HMIS approach, we collaborated with regional partners to transfer administration to Multnomah County, initially scheduled for September of 2023, which the vendor delayed until March. This amendment will cover the costs incurred by the Portland Housing Bureau for allowing Clackamas County HMIS access during the delay in transferring over to the new regional administration hosted by Multnomah County.
Questions or comments? See no objections.
Item 4, approval of a motel hotel services contract with YKC Hospitality for 25 on-call hotel rooms for temporary housing. Contract value is $1,247,500 for 1 year. Funding is through Metro Supportive Housing Services Measure Funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the county continues to need temporary housing options for vulnerable members of our community. YKC Hospitality LLC has provided hotel/motel rooms for 59 households since July 1, 2023, through a contract ending June 15, 2024. Approval of a new contract will ensure continuous availability of rooms for community members in need of the remaining 15 days of this fiscal year and all of next fiscal year, providing up to 25 on-call hotel/motel rooms for temporary homelessness, accommodation, and/or natural disaster or other emergencies.
Questions or comments? See no objections.
Item 5, approval of an amendment updating the scope of a revenue lease agreement with Genoa Healthcare for space at the Lake Road Health Center. There is no cost associated with this amendment. The total agreement value remains $46,290.84 for 3 years and 3 months. Funding is through Genoa Healthcare. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this is a bit of a housekeeping matter, but there's no cost associated with this request. This amendment clarifies that the leased spaces 144A consult and 144B pharmacy are collectively referred to as room 144 in a lease. This is essential because the state licensing board is unable to grant licenses for 2 distinct locations sharing the same physical address. So they're basically combining the rooms, and we'll call it one thing.
Questions or comments? See no objections.
Item 6, approval of a revenue intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Health Authority for participation in the Alternative Payment Methodology and Advanced Care Model Program. Estimated total value is $9,600,000 for 2 years. Funding is through the Oregon Health Authority. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this agreement involves participating in Oregon Health Authority's Alternative Payment Methodology and Advanced Care Model program for federally qualified health centers and rural health clinics. The program aims to align payment with high-quality, efficient, patient-centered care, incentivizing high-value services over visits. The program aims to decrease billable patient visits and boost non-billable patient engagement, resulting in increased revenue for the Health Centers Division compared to traditional fee-for-service models. Since 2021, health centers have collected approximately $2.2 million more in revenue than they would have achieved using traditional fee-for-service models, with 8,774 members currently participating.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 7, approval of a personal services contract with Mercy Housing Northwest for property management, resident services, and supportive housing case management for Mercy Green Brier Affordable Housing Project property residents. Contract value is $580,000 for 1 year. Funding is through Metro Supportive Housing Services Measure Funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, Mercy Green Bray is an affordable housing project in Lake Oswego. The project includes 100 units, financed through low-income housing tax credits, state and metro affordable housing bond funds. Through this contract, Mercy Housing Northwest will provide resident services programming to all 100 units and more intensive supportive housing case management for 40 households at or below 30% of area median income, experiencing homelessness or having a substantial risk of experiencing homelessness.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you. All of these consent agenda items will be on this Thursday's business meeting agenda for your final action. Next, update on the Homeless Solutions Coalition of Clackamas County Resource Center in Oregon City. Rod Cook will present this as well, and there was a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Rod. And he's joined by Adam Brown.
So I'll start out, and then we'll have Adam talk about the opportunity that we're looking at. Since acquiring the former Miles Fiberglass building at 1516 Main Street in Oregon City, the Homeless Solutions Coalition of Clackamas County has been working with an architectural firm to design the build-out of its new 40,000 square foot resource center. The resource center will provide people experiencing housing insecurity and homelessness immediate access to on-site services and connection to other services delivered across the county's recovery-oriented system of care. The goal is to create a resource for the whole community where local homeless service providers, other health and human service agencies, public safety partners, faith-based organizations, and other interested stakeholders can work together to address homelessness. The current site design includes the Father's Heart. There's a certain amount of square foot for the Father's Heart and loved one to relocate their center services from their current location. Day center services include hot meals, showers, laundry, coordinated housing access assessment, and case management. Another part of the building would be for a health center that will provide primary medical care, integrated behavioral health care, and a pharmacy. Another part of the center would be flexible space for community-based organizations and government agencies to deliver services and hold meetings. And lastly, the last part of the building would be a workforce coffee shop that will provide job training and employment opportunities for resource center clients. Adam is here because he's been negotiating the piece where we've been approached by the coalition, and the director's in the back of the room, just for the record, if you want to talk to him. But he's going to talk about the opportunity we have for our clinics to actually necessarily be at the site.
Go ahead, Adam.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Adam Brown, Deputy Director, Health, Housing, and Human Services. So, Commissioners, you know that we're working to build a recovery-oriented system of care where there really is no wrong door for the people that we're trying to serve. We're investing in a number of different types of built infrastructure, and that built infrastructure will be tailored to meet specific needs in the moment. It will have a specific area of focus, if you will, but it will be no wrong door as far as being attuned to the other needs that people have and being able to connect them to other access points within that recovery system of care. So the primary focus of the Resource Center is it's a homeless services resource center. It's a place where the whole community can come together, collaborate to address all of a person's needs. We know that physical and behavioral health needs are a key component that folks on the streets are often facing. And so we think that HSCCC approached the county and said, as we're doing the architectural design on the Resource Center, we think there's square footage and a really good business case for putting a small clinic in there to meet needs in the moment. So we've started these preliminary discussions with them. We think it's a good idea. They're getting further into the architectural phase where they need to start making decisions about what that space is going to look like. And we want to sit down with them and say, here's the array of services that we think will work. Here's the needs that we see, have back and forth with them about it, and then ultimately design the facility with that purpose. So here's the key opportunities that we see. More co-location and coordination of services to reduce barriers to access within the recovery system of care. Increasing the geographic distribution of services within our system. So with the relocation of our behavioral health clinics to Lake Road, we've lost our footprint for behavioral health services offered by our health centers here in Oregon City. That would restore that footprint. And then also, this is kind of a FQHC unique business decision thing, but we want to protect our catchment area in Clackamas County, meaning the people that are assigned to our health center. There are other FQHCs operating in the community, and if we have another FQHC coming here and operating on our doorstep, that can impact the financial position of our own health center by pulling away some of the clients and having them assigned to those other health centers. So to preserve that client base, we want to protect our geographic operating area. So there are a number of reasons why we think this is a good opportunity for the county. We didn't want to get ahead of you, board, in having these discussions with the HSCCC. There are some important community meetings coming up, like with the Oregon City Business Alliance at the end of the month. We want to talk about this potential opportunity, but we didn't want to do that before we have an opportunity to bring this to you and get your blessing to continue these discussions.
We have a couple commissioners in the queue, but Gary, what is our action on this today? Is it just informational?
It's informational only, but if you're opposed to this, we want to hear it today, so we'll stop moving forward.
All right. Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
Mr. Cook, Adam Brown, this project has got a lot of attention in the community. Some of it is negative. And I try to explain to people that this project is not going to attract the homeless, that's what some people are concerned about. It's actually replacing a facility that we have currently in Oregon City. That's our Father's Heart Outreach Center on, I think, on 10th Street. So one of my concerns is that when this is built, that we have an adequate transportation system there at the center to ensure that people who need transportation to transitional housing get it, so they don't go out the door and then have no place to go. It's very critical. So as you're planning this, please make sure that we have an adequate transportation system, so everybody who comes for a service, they go home to their house or they have transportation to transitional housing or some other housing facility. And then the portion on the mental health clinic there, the sustainment of this project will be paid for predominantly by what money?
We see three possibilities for the clinic operations. One is billable services. So some of the services are going to be billable just like they are at our other clinics. We think our health system partners will come to the table and bring forward some funding because this is really creative. And then we have one of the virtues of the SHS money is that we've been tasked with meeting need. We've been given a relatively flexible resource to meet that need. So SHS could be that gap funding where, FQHC business model is complicated. It's hard to get the services to pencil and be fully reimbursable. That will be the case here too, especially because we're trying to be creative about how accessible the services are, making them very accessible and responsive. So we see SHS as closing that gap where we don't get health system partner funding and the services aren't reimbursable.
Okay. The other thing too that many people are concerned about, there's some confusion, and I hope this is clarified in your outreach, is some people think that it's going to be an overnight facility, and it is not, okay? The other thing is that we have a big opioid addiction problem in the county that affects people who are not homeless, who maybe have a job, have a family, they still can pay their mortgage, but they still have an opioid addiction problem. Will there be some consideration in this project for outreach to those people?
Go ahead. One thing I'm seeing, and Adam is the one negotiating, but I know that the leaders of this, the coffee shop, the clinic, they're really trying to normalize the site so that anybody, not just homelessness, will access the site. This will become a community resource. That's why they changed the name from what it was to resource, because they really want to say anybody, if you have a mental health problem, you can go there. If you want to just go have some coffee, you go there. If you want some workforce experience, go there. So they're really taking the stigma out of what this building.
Right, okay, good. Because a lot of people have said to me that this facility will, quote, attract the homeless and the vagrants. But that's not going to be the case, especially when you have a good transportation coordination, transitional housing coordination for everybody who comes there. So nobody's just walking out the door and is lost without a place to go.
Yeah, this group, even the design of it, they've designed even the entries where you're going to minimize any, how can I say, ugliness that you people might have thought they would have seen. They've put a lot of thought to see, even to the building design. It's really beautiful what they're putting together, I think.
Okay, and another criticism I've heard is that Commissioner Scholl, why don't you just vote to not support this building and let the problem go someplace else? I tell them that that's really not a solution, that we have to be responsible to take action to help those people who are in need. We can't just defer it to another county because it'll never really go away. If the problems are out there, they're going to be on our doorstep, on our streets, and in our neighborhoods. So I really hope that your public outreach piece on this is a strong one, get the word out, and that people will understand that this is not just for homeless, but it's for everybody in the county who's got a problem. Mental health, other health issues, homelessness, and we're being responsible with this project.
Thank you.
Okay?
Commissioner West?
I see this as potentially a funnel into the campus, right? And so this isn't a one-stop shop solution. We've solved homelessness in Clackamas County and addiction issues and substance abuse disorder. But right now, those people are in your business's doorstep. That's where they're sleeping. I've been down there. It's not like they don't exist. Many of them are from Clackamas County. They're not all like, I know they don't know the 10-mile border between us and Multnomah County, but these are our own neighbors and they're here. And so, once again, we're trying to solve a real problem that exists, and to kick the can or pretend like it's someone else's problem and not ours. I get why that is a feeling and a reaction, but we have to solve this the Clackamas way. So, and I think that that longer term need that potentially gives somebody a resource that allows for longer term recovery. I think that's where the campus plays. I think this is a funnel. This is an intervention piece. This is we've been so successful in Clackamas County because we know who's homeless in our community, and we have such a targeted, robust outreach to those individuals. And this allows us to maybe do some deflection in a way that's a little more effective and innovative. It's smart. Is it without risk? No. To say so would be really disingenuous and not fair to say to the community. But when we're dealing with a crisis of this magnitude, I mean, we have to start to put into place the infrastructure and the web necessary to catch the people, as many as we can, to get them, as Commissioner Scholl mentioned, the care they need and access to that. I'm curious a little bit about the design. So this it's a big building. And so this is the amount of square footage in each one of these bullet points that's designated potentially for that type of service, right?
Yep.
And so one of the ones up here is Father's Heart Loved One Relocate Their Day Services, which is like, we've seen them, they're doing everything they can with like the littlest of little houses on, like, it's not ideal by any means or in the best location. It's quite residential there. So relocating their services, they're already doing good work, and includes hot meals, showers, laundry, coordinated housing, access and assessment, case management, all that's great. The medical care piece, 8,000 to 11,000 square feet. How will this tie into the Lakewood Clinic? If we have another clinic here, is that Lakewood Clinic more for the population as a whole and this one specifically for this population? Are they going to work together? Because it's our understanding, are we duplicating this service here with the two clinics? I don't understand where they work together.
They'll work together. It's two service access points. They may provide similar services. They may be complementary. There will be coordination. There's already coordination. We have a clinic on Sunnyside, right? We have a clinic here on campus. We have the new Lake Road Health Center. We lost the behavioral health footprint here in Oregon City, right? So this restores that, also gives us a little primary care footprint to help address people's needs in the moment, make sure that their medical needs are met. But Commissioner West, it's not redundant to the point of being inefficient. It's redundant to the point of providing an adequate safety net.
Perfect. And I really like your guys' emphasis on how the design, it's not only is it trauma informed, not only is it community is considered, how it's forward facing within the community. We saw this at New Haven for Hope when you would come from street level homelessness and how they would put them through the process. There was this large open area, it was covered on top. It was fenced off, but they would have this large kind of intake type area that you really couldn't see what was going on from the street, but it still gave the appropriate kind of response where that street level person was in the moment, while them not also being during the day kind of wandering the streets or on someone's doorstep. So I think we saw a similar type of design at New Haven for Hope that worked in San Antonio at a much larger scale than what we're talking about.
Sure, and Commissioner, Rod alluded to this, but the design, so if you think about where it's situated on the corner, right, what the current architectural design shows entry through the back, and then that courtyard being facing inward on that block.
Okay.
So that it's not facing outward on the street. So when people enter through the back, there's going to be a courtyard back there. People, be able to come decompress a little bit, do that intake process, but it won't happen on the street. It'll happen within the confines of the building.
Property.
Yeah, of the property.
And that's what we saw, Martha,
exactly what
at
we
New
saw.
Haven for Hope that was really successful. And they could capture a lot of people that way.
Made a big
Yeah.
difference and kept everything
Yeah.
quiet.
And sometimes they kind of stayed in that area for a long time until they're ready to progress, but it did help have a appropriate place and a safe place for people to go.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Regarding the trauma-informed design, there are pictures, and the architect there are some renderings. Maybe they've been adjusted. The principals of this, I believe, visited New Haven down in San Antonio and got a lot of the same ideas, so I was very encouraged by that. Assessing the health of the homeless population is essential to trying to end homelessness, because it goes back to causation. Why are they homeless? Let's assess their health, let's give them some basic needs, and start at the very basic levels. And that's why I'm so excited about this health clinic being at this center. And for commissioners today I guess the question is, anybody opposed to a health center being at this resource center? And we'll have more time to work on it, correct, Gary? For them to go do their work and bring it back?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we all like it.
Great, we appreciate your support. Go forward.
And thank you for thinking of this. Absolutely. Great work. Look forward to more to come on this.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you.
Gary, what's
Great.
next?
Next, there is a request from the City of Milwaukee for a letter of support from you for a federal grant they are applying for called the Safe Streets and Roads for All Supplemental Planning. There's a draft support letter in your packet. This is to look at road safety on Harrison Street corridor in the City of Milwaukee. So this is a city request, but they're asking for the local jurisdiction, you, to write a support letter. There's no impact to Clackamas County. There's no funding that we provide. It's simply a support letter. So the draft letter's in your packet, seeking any edits you may have or approval of the letter, please.
I read it. I am okay to sign it and send it on. Any objections from commissioners on this?
No.
We have a motion to support, please.
I will accept a motion.
Chair, I move that we support the City of Milwaukee's support letter for the Safe Streets and Roads for All Supplemental Planning Grant.
Commissioner West
I'll second.
has moved we sign a letter of support for the Safe Streets Road Program in the city of Milwaukee. Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Any further comments? Seeing none, would the clerk please take the poll?
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Next, there is a request from the Oregon Geographic Names Board for your input on a request to name a unnamed butte in the city of Happy Valley to Stone Butte. Now, you've done these before, commissioners. You may recall this is a federal and state requirement that the local jurisdiction gives input on the naming of any geographic facilities within the jurisdiction. So this is the Oregon Geographic Names Board, who received a request from the city of Happy Valley to name an unnamed butte, which is half a mile northeast of Carver, to the name of Stone Butte. And so your action today is to support the name change, oppose the name change, or take no action. And staff recommends you take no action. You're just acknowledging the request came in and you're checking a box. However, you can support it or oppose it. So the request today is support, oppose, or take no action.
Which staff recommended we take no action?
I do,
You do?
Yes.
And you must have a reason.
because there's someone out there who will support it and someone out there will oppose it, so just acknowledge it and take no action is easiest.
And how do we acknowledge that today, Gary?
So a motion to take no action, please.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved to take no action.
I'll second.
Commissioner Schrader has moved that we take no action on naming Stone Butte in Happy Valley. Commissioner West has seconded that motion. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Shaw.
Well, it is a rather stony butte. In the comments.
Yes, and this local jurisdiction should be free to name the area what they want. That's my opinion. Can you please take the poll?
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Next, board business meeting agenda review for this Thursday, May 16th, 2024, 10 a.m. You'll have all the consent agenda items you discussed today and your normal course of business. If you have any questions on any item, please let me know prior to Thursday, and staff and I are happy to answer it for you. Final item today is Commissioner Communications.
Gee, who wants to go first? Shoal, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
I enjoyed being in Molalla last Wednesday for the city council meeting. It was a great meeting, a lot of great people down there. They're all excited about their planning for their new police station and doing a lot of work on their street improvements. Saturday night, Oksana and I attended the Salvation Army fundraiser dinner at the DoubleTree. I'm always impressed with the work that the Salvation Army does in our region. Tonight, I'll be at on Zoom for the Department of State Lands budget meeting. Tomorrow night, I'll attend the Clackamas Substance Abuse Program graduation in Milwaukee. Friday morning, I'm going to attend the Oregon City familiarization tour, but I'm only going to join them at 8 o'clock down at the River Shore Hotel just for the startup on that.
What project was that, Commissioner?
It's the Oregon City familiarization tour. It's an all-day tour of Oregon City, but I'll join them only at 8 o'clock for the start down at the River Shore Hotel. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Schrader?
Yeah, I've had a very busy week, I think last week, on Friday, I got to speak to the Oregon Federations of Women's Clubs at the Monarch Hotel. We were there a few days earlier, or a day before, for the State of the County. So I was at the Monarch 2 days in a row. I think the State of the County went very, very well. It was a great crowd, and some of the feedback I got was that they're so pleased that we work so well together. And it's good to see us, people getting along and really kind of focusing on the job. So that was really nice to hear. The Federation of Women's Club, it's been around since like 1896. And it's one of the oldest women clubs in the state of Oregon. And I got to speak to all of the women from different areas of the state. And I gave them a practice for working with some younger people on governance and what that means. I gave a quick talk on county government and what our role was and where we fit in the whole hierarchy of governments from federal, state, county, and cities. And of course, my bias is towards counties because we have to work with all of them. But in many ways, we are the service providers for multiple things, and people are surprised when I even just could start to list out what we actually do in this county and how we are really that level of government that leverages, at least in this state, and I think in other states, a lot of the federal dollars for delivery systems to various people. Mostly because we all have smaller cities here. They don't have the capacity for some of those services. So it's a real integrated process. And it was fun to talk about counties, not just Clackamas, but counties in general, and how important we are, and how in many ways I like it because we're kind of the unsung heroes, because I always get the question, what do counties do? And why do we need counties? And I say, well, if you didn't have us, a lot of stuff would grind to a halt. And quite frankly, I prefer being under the radar screen, just kind of trying to make good things happen and not necessarily, touting that, but knowing that all of our work is so essential to people. I also had an opportunity to meet with the work group from the National Association of Counties, where we're looking at giving rural economic development grants, and I'm happy to say we were pretty much in agreement, and our own Union County here in the state of Oregon looks as if they're one of the top contenders for getting dollars for a rural economic development plan. This is a result of the work that we had done as the Economic Mobility Leadership Network. This is the second phase where there's a group of us that have been appointed by NACO to do that work, we actually assessed all the applications. I want to thank Caroline Hill for helping me with that too. She's a great asset as we go through that. And so we narrowed those down, and we're going to be funneling some nonprofit dollars to those counties. So that was pretty cool. So that was Friday. Mother's Day was great. My son took me out for Saturday night dinner, and my dear friend Commissioner Ben, he and his husband Paul, we had brunch together. So that was a great. Thank you for that. You guys are so much fun. I have to tell you, I love you guys. Anyway, so thank you for giving me two great gifts. My son's on Saturday, you guys on the 12th, and then of course my daughters called me, one from England and one from Boston. We actually, Tootie and I thought you would probably going to talk about this too, that yesterday we had our Courthouse Arts Committee meeting where we really kind of all came to an agreement of where the first piece of art, 2 pieces of art. So I'm going to let you describe that because you were there together with me. And then this morning, I got to speak at the Optimist Club, and I did talk about everything that we've been doing with housing. It was between the courthouse and housing, and I thought it was kind of early in the morning to try and explain 3P financing methodologies. I thought, they're just going to look at me like, what the heck are you
Go
talking
girl.
about? I just said, hey, courthouse is going up, and, we're working with Oregon City.
Yeah.
But I talked about housing and all the projects we've done and how well, I wish our other staff were here to hear this, but how well our folks that work here and make this happen have integrated service delivery with the housing capacity, and it's made a huge world of difference. And I even put in a plug for Lake Oswego, because we help them get Habitat for Humanity Monday, and we also help the Canby Center help people move up the prosperity ladder there. So I talked about stuff like that. So anyway, that was it for me. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner West, you're up.
I might start my comments just being a little bit snarky, but I can't help myself. Commissioner Schrader says some people don't understand what counties do and what their role is. I'm still asking that same question about Metro, but I know I'm not the only one that does that.
We've been around a lot longer, though.
A lot
We
longer,
were
a
the
lot
first
longer.
level of government in the United States of America, even
And
before
we also
cities.
have the oldest housing authority.
Yeah.
Something that Metro's not really capable of managing or handling, but counties seem to do an okay job at it. Sorry, I couldn't help myself with the opportunity. You set it up for me, Commissioner, and I had to go for it. Yeah, last week was great. I think everything I heard about the state of the county was really positive. And what's so exciting, as you know, I just finished my first year as a commissioner. Now it's like a year and a half, but to look back, like a lot of really great stuff has been done, a lot of tangible things that people can feel in their own communities. Look outside, that courthouse is beautiful, and it's funded, and it's stable, and we had to figure out how to be practical and make that work, and now Clackamas County arguably might have the most beautiful courthouse in the entire state, and we did that by also making sure we were able to have a sustainable, well-balanced budget, and we figured out how to just make local government work a little more efficiently and advocate for large amounts of state funding. Bam, we have a beautiful courthouse. Now, I think, Martha, you were the only one on this board to vote for it.
Yeah.
Well, Trudy voted for it too, but I think it was, what was the makeup? It was Bernard, you, Sonia,
Oh, no.
right?
No,
When we
Paul.
first,
It was Paul. Yeah, Paul was there, too.
And Paul, right?
No, but Paul didn't vote for it that night. He would have preferred to go out for a bond, but
but it was basically,
it was the four of us that voted on the process, whether we did a P3 kind of
That's right.
lease model versus, and then Judy, you came on board, and you got together with Judge Steele, and I think you and she together really,
Actually, it was Gary Barth.
well, Gary Barth,
Okay.
too, yeah. Gary Barth and those guys, but,
Judge still didn't care why we did, as long as she got her court.
oh, well, there you go. I forgot.
Great.
I forgot about that, yeah. Okay.
but when you look at it like, that was a big bipartisan lift.
Yeah.
There was both, this is a nonpartisan seat, but people from the legislators from both sides of the aisle, commissioners from both sides of the aisle, community members, multiple branches of government, the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive have all played a role in Clackamas County having this courthouse. And now you can drive up and you see it, it's all encased, and you can start to see it really take shape and form, and it's quite beautiful. We're talking about putting the Clackamas County art in it. It's really exciting. I was excited to kind of convey the message about how we are the safest large county. We are the safest county with more than 90,000 residents. There's a lot of counties in Oregon that have at least that many residents or more, and we are the safest out of all the large counties. We're the 8th safest county in the entire state, according to the police data, and we're still part of the metro area. Our culture, our worldview, and how to do local government's really good. I think we articulated that well, and that's what we needed to do. Is like at the state of the county is be honest with the direction and where the county is and the health of the county. And I think we were this year able to really convey a really wonderful message to our constituents and to stakeholders, and I think it gave them some pride in like what's happening in Clackamas, and that's good. And they should be very proud of what's happening in Clackamas and how we've been able to lead and the great work of our staff. Chair Smith and I sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, but we got to go to the Northwest Family Services event. That was wonderful. They really start to intervene and help families and young people and children have some stability. They focus on child well-being. They really want to intervene with those that are victims of crime by focusing on the social determinants of health. And it's so poignant that they had their event here in May because this is Mental Health Awareness Month. So that was timely. It was a smaller event, but it was quite mighty in its effort, and they did a really good job. So it was a pleasure to get to go to that event with Chair Smith, where they really are super appreciative of the partnership with this county. I had a number of staff come up to me privately and say, thank you for your efforts in prevention and downstream work, and thank you so much for the funding that you guys approved so that we could do this essential work. And it was really collaborative and wonderful event to see what decisions we made on this dais impact people's real lives and the work that they're doing. And these people are passionate and good at what they do. So that was exciting. This week's going to be pretty busy. And so I look forward to reporting back about this week also. But yeah, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. It was a pleasure to get to spend Mother's Day morning with Commissioner Schrader, as we wanted to make sure that the county's Nona Lena wasn't alone on Mother's Day morning. So her and Paul went to Mass, and then we had a wonderful brunch together. So it was, and we talked a lot of county business without a quorum, Gary. But it was wonderful. We had a good time, and the weather's been beautiful. So yeah, it's an exciting time in the county, and that's all I have to report now.
Thank you all. Commissioner Schrader mentioned courthouse art. We have a local Clackamas County artist, and she's been our first selection of 2 pieces of art at the courthouse, and one piece is 54 feet long. And it's a beautiful depiction, I think, of the geography of Clackamas County, which I personally wanted represented. And she also has a secondary art piece. I forget how long that was, maybe 25 feet long. And so it's going to be really fun to see that go up. We had 3 different artists submit. They were all fantastic, and hopefully we can use some of their art on different parts of the project. Commissioners, I have a question for you here today. We've been getting many emails regarding PGE's rate increase. And I've been asked if we wanted to submit a letter to the PUC saying, gee, don't do that now. It's another 7.5% rate increase. So as you were all talking, I wrote down some language that I could possibly put in a letter. And it's along these lines. Please consider the impact of a 7.5% rate increase that we'll have on our joint constituency of which we both serve. During this high inflationary times, and adding more financial stress to households across Clackamas County is troublesome. In the light of the recent PGA rate increases, we ask the PUC to be mindful of their approval, which has the potential for increased financial burden on our joint constituency in Clackamas County. If you're interested in doing that, I could have Emily pen a letter. I think it needs to be in within a day. Commissioners, what is your thoughts on this? Sean.
Well, Chair Smith, I think it's a good idea. The people of Clackamas County have been suffering financially for the last 3 years. Inflation, gas, groceries, energy. You know, the state to the south of us and the state to the north of us, their legislatures have recently passed laws that will restrict the use of natural gas, and in some cases they want to remove hydroelectric dams on their rivers, at the same time trying to move towards green energy, that is solar and wind. That's the combination for huge increases on people's electrical bills. You can't do that without sending the price through the roof. So anything we can do now to help the ratepayers protect them from higher costs of energy, we should do it. Anything we can.
Other comments?
I like the tone of the letter. I mean, I think that, you know, we are worried, frankly, about how people, I mean, all I know, my energy costs have gone up. I think it would be fine to send a letter.
With this tone?
With that tone. I also think we should let PG know, though, if we could, because that would be a courtesy to them. So I would just say, just letting you know, we're doing this on behalf of our constituents because we're, affordability. So with those two things, I'd be fine with it. Just,
Okay. Commissioner West?
Yeah, those utility bills across the board have just gone up and up and up. So I'm fine with the tone of that letter. It also just made me immediately think of Metro and the tipping.
Tip fees.
Additionally, on top of this, right? That's additional. It's and that's a whole nother box of worms.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing that we haven't even really started to unravel that we're going to be jumping into as a local government addressing that issue. I know that other local governments are wanting us to partner with them to really push back against that increased cost that Metro's trying to add.
Good.
When is Metro not trying to increase the cost on everything? I mean,
So I was going to ask you, which one are you talking about?
fair enough, it's hard to keep track of all the increases from Metro.
Shipping fee.
Yeah.
Like, which-
So I think what you're going to have happen with the garbage issue is that people just will stop having their garbage picked up, and then we're going to have rats and all kinds of things happening, and people will just leave it on the side of the road or in their backyard, and they'll say, hey, I'll get it, put it, throw it in my back of the trunk and do what I want. We don't have enough code enforcement, and so this is just a lot of concern that I have with all these utility costs. I know that this, right, Shoal, you've been advocating on the water issue over on the other side of the county with the Portland's plant, with, what is it, people are now seeing maybe a 300% increase, am I right? Or
Or more like 400% increase if the plant is built
if the plant is, I mean, so this is just like,
on
Oh,
day
my
one.
gosh.
I mean, we're talking about, we're not a rich state, by the way.
No, we're not.
We're not a wealthy state. We really are traditionally a blue-collar, working-class state. I mean, there's a few people with money, but they're not all going to be Phil Knight. So these costs are very concerning, and so I think that we're going to have to start to take a principled stance on maintaining local rates where we can, and helping people with their monthly bills that way. And so I support the tone of it, and I just wanted to say, overall, I'm hyper-concerned about where there is not going to be a large multiple increases on people's, and we're abundant. It's crazy because we're abundant in the ability to produce electricity in Oregon.
Hydropower.
We're abundant in the ability to have natural gas and energy choice. We are abundant in these things, and we are prohibited from accessing those resources with good stewardship and principally with environmental concerns in mind. But wild ideology drives much of these bad policies that at the end of the day just makes everything cost more, and it just hurts families, and so it just adds up and adds up and adds up, and it's just being nickeled and dimed to death, and I just can't get behind it, and so I would support the tone. I'll get off the soapbox, but
right.
overall it's a problem.
And we need to move this along, Commissioners. We've been quite chatty today. Okay, so I either sign it or we all four can sign it. But we need to get it out the door, and I'm not sure if we're going to have time for all four of you to sign it. I can sign it on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. Is that okay?
Whatever makes it easy is fine.
Okay, so we keep the tone like it is. Gary?
Please make a motion that the board, you're authorizing the chair to write the letter on your behalf, even though you will not have time to see it.
Cool.
Please, make a motion.
So moved.
Commissioner West has moved we send a increase to the PUC regarding PGE's rate increases into the tone that I just read earlier. I will sign it on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Further discussion? Everett, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner Shoal,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader, Commissioner West,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much, Commissioners. We'll get this out as soon as we can. There's a deadline, Emily told me this morning. I think the deadline's today, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. So it might be tomorrow. That's it?
Okay.
Thank you. Hearing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned.